Welcome to the Pun Show. It's your good old host, Macklen MacLoogie. Happy Father's Day to nearly all the fathers near and farther. But to the dads out there who aren't good at being dads, I'm calling you bads. And if you were bad enough to disown me, I hope that diss owned you. Tomorrow's Monday, so today must be Pun Day, June 21st. Happy summer solstice. The more daylight hours there are, the more opportunities we'll have to shine some light on racism. So, pretend we're yogurt in a petri dish, because I want to put our culture under a microscope. Oh dear, I almost forgot. It's half past pontification. It's important to remember that while racism can be about black and white, it's almost never black and white. And people who worry that empowering minorities will somehow eliminate white culture, or what I call e-racism, are just as much a part of the problem as those trolls who spout vile slurs online, or what I call e-racism. Here it is, your pun of the day. The expression tooting your own horn should be changed to tooting your own Trump-it, because he does it so much. Now to discuss getting involved in local government, it's writer-podcaster Rebecca Leib, who is also a neighborhood councilperson serving Echo Park here in Los Angeles. How long have you been doing this job?
A little more than a year. I've been a neighborhood councilperson, and a little less than a year, the outreach chair of the Echo Park Neighborhood Council Outreach Committee.
Did you have a moment after you got elected to the neighborhood council where you realized, what did I just get myself into?
Yes, because I'm like, I don't know anything. I won this election, which, by the way, the voter count, I think someone won, I maybe won by 20 votes. So it's a real small operation. It's I won by a small school bus full of Echo Park residents. But yeah, parliamentary procedure, and you're in these meetings, and there's so much paperwork, and it's so much pomp and circumstance we don't have a ton of, we have influence, but not a ton of legit hands down power. So that's where it comes in with being able to be recognized and creating a community, because you have power in neighborhood council, not by doing it, but by asserting yourself and by knowing the other players in your, the districts, and knowing your council people and creating relationships with them. But we don't have a lot. We can't stop a development from going in anywhere or anything like that. We can barely put in a stop sign somewhere so that, so you just have to keep in perspective what it can do, but it does have a lot of sway if, for the people that can make those decisions, take you seriously.
What would you say to somebody who's maybe fantasized about getting into local politics, but they're afraid of that imposter syndrome, or being discovered as a fraud, or being in over their head?
I would tell them, that's not the worry you should have. I would say the worry you should have is making sure you have enough time to kind of get acclimated. There's a lot of people on the neighborhood council who are erratically behaved and can be very intense to be around. So I think that's kind of a hard thing to navigate. That parliamentary procedure, which is how the meetings are conducted, and how all of the governmental meetings are conducted, it can be a little annoying, but you'll get that. But it's just laying low and kind of learning and making sure that the people that are already in neighborhood council don't intimidate you if you want to get involved, because they can, and they'll try a little bit. There's a lot of who's the new kid kind of a thing. There were a lot of new electees when I was elected, which was great, because we're all see that guy? He just threw a chair.
I guess high school cliques never go away. They just mutate into other areas of life.
Yeah. It's just everyone's it's like Parks and Rec, right? And I'm it's exactly like Parks and Rec. It's not being hyperbolic. It's just that. Same type of characters, same weirdness, and money being allocated in strange places, and just, yeah. So if you want to get involved, be prepared to be a part of a sitcom, unpaid.
Have you had any pet projects that you've been really excited about developing or ushering through? You mentioned stop signs, and
don't give a shit about stop signs. Someone else can do that. No, I love a stop sign. I love it.
You're more of a yield.
No, I do a lot of like fun community building stuff. I like to be involved in the homelessness and development. I like to have a hand in those things, but really my favorite thing to do is do things for the community, just very directly, like really fun, um, kind of like project oriented things. For example, right now I'm making, and this is hard to do because I'm kind of navigating the protest and wanting to give enough energy and time to them. But we're developing a cookbook for Echo Park where all the community recipes can be bound together and made into something, especially if we're going to be in quarantine for who knows how long. So that's a fun one. But
That's
yeah, they're not, my projects are not super political. It's like the Valentine's Day event. It's not high up on many people's list, but it is a really important part, I think, of keeping us all sane.
I was an RA in college, and this feels
Yeah.
like being an RA
Yeah.
on a bigger scale.
You might be great at this.
Are you trying to recruit me? I'm not
I don't
interested.
know. Where do you live?
Was there a tipping
Yeah.
point in your life where you decided you wanted to be an active member in your community?
Yeah. I mean, I guess I moved around a lot in my in the first 5, 6 years of my life in LA, and I couldn't really get like a hold of a neighborhood that I was like, oh, this is my neighborhood. This feels good. And then I moved to this apartment in Echo Park and loved it here. And I live in Angelino Heights. It's very historic. It's really fun. It feels very diverse and very vibrant in lots of different ways. And also, it's not completely gentrified too. So it feels like I moved in this cross section of time for this neighborhood that felt very important to get involved in, especially because I'm a white woman moving into this place that is not historically has not been predominantly white. And like, how can I help and not be a total asshole about it? Still working on that, but we're all learning. But yeah, it felt like my neighborhood and it felt like a place that I really belonged. And I've been here, like 8 years at this point.
Getting involved in your local government 101.
Yeah,
Talk us through the steps or the approach to doing that.
for sure. So I don't think you have, I think you can get involved in lots of different nonprofits, and those are ways to get the ear of city council people, which is really where the change happens. Or you can do neighborhood council, which is where I'm at, the lowest rung of government, unpaid, thankless. Just kidding. Lots of things, lots of things.
Thank you,
But
by the way. Thank you for your service.
thank you very much. So you should live in Echo Park, then that would resonate. Every neighborhood pretty much has a neighborhood council, and some are more active than others. So that's a really, really good way, especially if yours is not as active, to get involved, because there's a lot of money that is allocated to neighborhood councils. Not even getting involved as in being elected in a seat on the neighborhood council, but I think the committee level is where a lot of the work gets done. So joining a committee that's pertinent to you, like homelessness or schools. Schools and libraries is a big active one too. There's a lot of different ones depending on the area, because they're all kind of organized a little bit differently. But there's also a lot of really great nonprofits that help multiple neighborhood councils, and being active in those things will kind of get the ear of the city council too. Like SELA, for example, it's a nonprofit that helps East Side homeless in lots of different ways. They just in partnership with us, put in these mobile shower stations over by Alvarado, which is amazing. But they're still so active. They're always so active. I am so impressed by all the stuff they do. This all goes back to any way you feel like a city council person will take notice based on what you're affiliated with. And if it seems like you have enough credibility, because otherwise it's like, not to disparage writing letters and postcards and stuff like that, but developing a relationship via a nonprofit or some kind of vehicle, they listened to me much more than they did when I was like, hey, change this thing, please. And they're like, who are you? And I'm like, nobody.
Have you overextended yourself in the last 3 or 4 months?
Yeah, definitely. With COVID, I was like, oh, my life is going to get smaller and calmer. No, how about the opposite?
I think we
How
all
about you
thought
go
that.
out, you just go crazy, just internet wormholes, protesting, giving money, like coordinating. Yeah, it's really inspiring, but also there's so much to do. Like if you just like scroll through Instagram, you're like, oh my God, I have to go to like all these things and donate here and not shop here. And And you should do those if you can, like do them, please. But also, there's this element of fatigue, which is a privilege to be fatigued by this, where we are specifically politically. But I think you have to be at your best, and so I can't do everything, which is my problem. It's just like, in a nutshell, is my problem, where I would like to do everything.
How do you, this is a question for you, not as a neighborhood council person, but just as a human being. How do you
Mm-hmm.
prioritize when you feel stretched too thin and you need to do something, you can't do everything?
I mean, I'm a compulsive list maker. Here's one right now. That's helpful because seeing it on paper, I'm like, this is everything. There's no hiding obligation that it will pop out at me. But I think it's hard because I also feel like sometimes I'm just like, well, fuck it. I'm going to just watch 4 seasons of Vanderpump Rules, drink this bottle of wine, and not leave my bed, which is great, which I am a total fan of too. But I think, I think you have to be like, all right, what will make me, like, I have to pay rent. Like, what are my hierarchy of needs? How can I meet them immediately? And then after that, how can I be helpful to others? Because I'll be in a better place. But it's hard because I just want to go out and, help out. And sometimes I have to keep myself in that priority, in that base of priorities.
Yeah, it's kind of like when the masks drop in the airplane, you have to
Mm-hmm.
do your own before you do someone else's.
Yeah, I'll put them on 40 kids. All the kids will get masks, and I will shoot out the back of the Comfort Plus window. I don't care.
Oh man, sorry to lose you that way, but you had a hell of a ride.
But pretty cool story.
Well, that about does it for our show today. We're back tomorrow with an all new episode. Rebecca, like all my guests, has selected a charity to which we're encouraging donations. You can find that link on your screen right now and also in the show notes. I'm Macklen Maclugie, and if I were to create a shrine dedicated to my nephew's birthday today, I'd probably make it a mausoleum. You have to know his name to get that. Or you could figure it out. His name's Liam.